fear of public speaking. And during this presentation, I'm going to be talking about 3 different topics. Speaking tops the list of human fears, sources of fear, and steps to fearless speaking. So, all right, about the fear. Fear of public speaking consistently tops every list of human fears. In one study, it was polled that 45% of the people feared public speaking, and only 30% feared death. A similar study done by the Behavioral Institute of Atlanta indicated that 40 million Americans hate speaking so much that they do almost anything to avoid it, which I could do. And Lillian Wilder, who is the author of the book that I used to get the information for this presentation, has more than 30 years of teaching the art of communication. Her alumni whose numbers register in the thousands include people like broadcasters, businessmen, senators, stockbrokers, and homemakers. And the famous aren't immune either. They include people like James Earl Jones, Barbra Streisand, Carly Simon, James Garner, and Maya Angelou. Even Rosalind Carter managed to avoid public speaking most of her life. And however, when she got on the campaign trail, she really had no choice but to start having to speak. So what she would do is deliberately try to speak at small coffees or receptions, just like to say something for a couple minutes time. And even at that point, she would go lock herself in the bathroom before these presentations or little speeches that she did, and just rehearse it over and over again, and even for a 2-minute long speech. So she was really tortured by this for a while, but eventually her convictions were so strong in what she believed in and what she had to say overcame the fear. And now we're going to talk about some sources of fear. Career terror is really just job related, and it's rooted in the feeling anytime you step before a group or enter a meeting, or for some people just pick up the telephone, you feel like your career is on the line. Perfectionism, these are people who are usually really bright and clever, but they expect nothing less than perfection from themselves. And that can be a big obstacle when it comes to speaking, or fearless speaking for that matter. Panic is another source of fear. The thing with panic is that the fear is exacerbated by your own negative thoughts, by thinking how you'll fail at doing this, or just how you make a fool out of yourself. To keep thinking things like that, in addition to real physical manifestations that you think might happen to you, like shaking, or your hands or legs shaking, sweating, and things like that. So all combined, it could really spiral and not have a very good outcome. And avoidance is another problem. It guarantees anxiety, fear, and diminished performance. But sometimes they say that it's not so much the avoidance. Some people really are perfectionists at heart. They make the project so big and so overwhelming that it's hard to even start it. And then the last one's trauma. Sometimes, it could be that something terrible had happened to you in the past, or it could be related to childhood trauma or like painful past conditioning. And another thing about the author of the book that I read, she was mute for a while after having a tragic event happen to her in her life. And same with Maya Angelou and James Earl Jones. They also spent times in their life when they just shut down and refused to speak. So sometimes that needs medical or psychological treatment so that it doesn't carry on, to your adulthood. Okay, now some steps to fearless speaking. The experiencing your own voice. There was exercises in this book, but they didn't really help me very much. I don't know, I just didn't like them. But the breathing and the relaxation helped, and it suggested that, every day if you take 5 or 10 minutes, just to relax and let go, it could be helpful. And that you can do that prior to your speech. You could just sit there without anyone noticing and just do some breathing, and it might relax you. Another thing is to get an immediate response from your audience. This helps so that the speaker no longer feels isolated up there and all alone. So sometimes interaction with people can be helpful, and it's also nice if it's a more informal presentation, because that allows the audience to feel more comfortable about participating. And establishing a dialogue, the simplest way to establish a dialogue is just addressing the individuals in the audience like on a regular basis during your talk. If it happens to be like a large audience in an auditorium or something like that, you won't be able to do so much one-on-one talking, but you can get laughter or applause or nods, and that helps the speaker know that people, are listening and paying attention. Okay, and another thing is to not consider yourself a public speaker, even though that doesn't sound right. It's probably the most helpful, and I think it has helped me. So you don't have to be perfect and try to be like somebody else. Just be yourself. And actually it says that the most successful speakers got good by doing just that. They didn't pretend or, try to be like someone else. They just were themselves. And yeah, and they gave themselves permission to do that, to just be who they are in front of other people. And you can be, bold or compassionate, witty or informative, whatever you feel like it at that moment when you're talking. And just a couple last things, humor and humility. Humor can be used also, especially if you feel comfortable with it, your jokes and you're good at that kind of stuff. I mean, that's definitely a good thing to do. And humility also is good to let people know or explain to them your own frailties or weaknesses or mistakes that you've made in the past, because everybody has those, and so it sort of creates a safe climate, and other people also realize that they've been through some of the same things. And being humble in front of others also makes you more believable and more respected as a speaker. And so in conclusion, whether you've done public speaking in the context of a self-help workshop in your place of work at school, or in front of a single empathetic friend, you've progressed toward becoming a fearless speaker, and you've stood up to your fears.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes.
She was
great. Yes.
She didn't even look nervous.
No,
she doesn't.
I think you have missed your calling. I think you should be a public speaker.
That's right.
You are very likable, and you didn't stumble until the very end when you tripped over your own 2 feet. But I very nice.
Lisa speak at graduation.
Yeah.
She really wants to conquer her fears.
Definitely keep that in mind. Absolutely.
Very nice. Very good.
It's true that public speaking is right up there with death and wars and taxes. Yeah, all of the terrible things that can happen in your life. Public speaking is right up there with it. Did you notice that face, that guy? He was like this. Did you notice? People do feel that way when they're afraid. It helped that you were prepared.
Right.
You did your material, and you were prepared, and that made it a lot easier for you to get up there and do whatever you needed to do. I like those couple of diagrams that you had up there. You had fear versus rip.